Joining us now is Sheriff Adan Mendoza and District Attorney Mary Carmack Altwies. Sheriff, obviously this is still an ongoing investigation, but are you able to tell us how a live bullet got into the gun and how close you and the FBI might be in determining what exactly happened?
Right now, we can't determine exactly how that live bullet got into the firearm. That's going to be the basis for a further investigation. We need more interviews, and that's going to be the million-dollar question: is how a live round ended up in the revolver that Mr. Baldwin fired. And
Sheriff, have people been cooperative during the investigation in terms of talking about what they know?
Initially, we got statements from the three individuals, Mr. Baldwin, Mr. Halls, and Ms. Gutierrez. We would like to get further statements, and most of those individuals are being cooperative.
Madam District Attorney, you told CNN today that knowing how live rounds got into the gun that Mr. Baldwin used will be the linchpin, your word, on whether or not to bring charges. Do you have a sense tonight on what those charges could be, or at least what part of the criminal code might apply?
No, not at this point. I think it's a little too preliminary to start focusing on what the criminal charges will be, because we don't even know who, if anyone, would actually be charged. You know, certainly we've been looking at our criminal code and looking at unintentional killings, which in New Mexico is called involuntary manslaughter. But we don't know that we'll be able to get to that point. We just can't make that determination yet until the investigation is complete.
And Madam District Attorney, who on the set, I mean, is it clear to you at least who on the set of the movie had the ultimate responsibility for the safety of the gun?
I think that's probably a question more for the investigators, for the sheriff. We don't necessarily know that yet. I think that with the further interviews that the sheriff indicated they're trying to do, we might be able to get a clearer picture of that.
Sheriff, you mentioned today that there were additional rounds found in the gun that you believe Alec Baldwin fired. Do we know if those were live bullets as well, or were they blanks?
Right now, the indication are they were dummy rounds, so they were not similar to the bullet that was fired. They were not similar. The casing was similar, but the primer was not. So we believe that those were dummy rounds that were also in the gun that Mr. Baldwin fired.
Sheriff, has anyone explained to you at all why there would be a bullet, a live round, on a movie set?
No one's offered an explanation to that question. Again, we're hoping to get follow-up interviews with the three individuals that handled the loaded firearm prior to Mr. Baldwin taking possession of it. So we're hoping to get further information on exactly why they were there and how they got there.
So are they being cooperative? I mean, the people who would have direct knowledge of that, can you say?
Right now, we have been getting in contact with Mr. Baldwin and Mrs. Gutierrez. Mr. Halls, to my knowledge, has retained legal counsel, and will work through his legal counsel to hopefully get a further statement and clarifying statement in reference to what happened.
And Sheriff, there were some reports that crew members were using live rounds for target practice on the set. Can you confirm that?
We've heard that from different sources through the media, through social media and other sources, that took place. There's no indication that has happened. We don't have specifics of where that took place and when it took place, and we would encourage anybody with that information to come forward to the sheriff's office.
Were there weren't, so you're saying there's not other live rounds that you found cartridges of around?
There are other additional suspected live rounds that we found. That'll be determined when we send those rounds in to the FBI crime lab for analysis, but we believe that they are possibly additional live rounds that were on the set.
Are they, can you say if they're in the church?
I won't comment specifically where their location was.
Sure.
But they were within the specific crime scene that we processed.
And Madam District Attorney, just from your vantage point, I mean, filming happens often in Santa Fe. On this set, there have been other films. I'd imagine there are on-set safety procedures in place. How surprised were you that a tragedy like this could occur?
Well, obviously, we were pretty surprised that a tragedy like this could occur, and certainly that it did occur. There are safety procedures and protocols that are supposed to be followed by everyone in the industry, and it seems like that did not happen in this case on multiple levels.
Sheriff Mendoza, District Attorney Carmack Altuiza, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.